Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin Brief, the show where me and Q&A catch up every 2 weeks to talk about Bitcoin, privacy, open source, keeping your Bitcoin secure, and the news and software updates that matter. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been supporting Ungovernable Misfits, and a big thank you to Foundation Devices for supporting the show. If you haven't already checked them out, go to foundation.xyz. They make cypherpunk tools for fuckwits, and anyone can use this, even me. If you have any questions or you want to reach out, feel free and I'll be happy to go through things with you. For anything super technical, I'll pass you on to Q. If you want to buy one of these incredible passports, use the code Ungovernable. It will get you a discount and it will let them know that I'm shilling. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to the Cake Wallet team. Not only are they supporting this show, but they're also bringing out some incredible features. For those of you who actually use Bitcoin and actually care about their privacy and security, Cake Wallet make it incredibly simple for you to live outside of the traditional financial system. You can use Cake Pay within the app to buy gift cards for food, petrol, and whatever else you might need day to day. You can use silent payments, and of course, you can use Monero. You can connect both Bitcoin and Monero nodes, use coin control, and this team are constantly innovating, and I'm really excited to be working with them. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, but check them out at cakewallet.com. Download the APK or start using this today on Mac, Windows, Linux, iPhone, or of course your Android device. Enjoy the show. It's back from Vegas, baby.
I'm back, alive and kicking at last. It's been a bit of a rough journey, personally. Jet lag absolutely bent me over and stuck a finger up my arse. Was a shell of a man. Doesn't normally affect me so bad, but this time around, coming back from Vegas, my sleep pattern's just been completely ruined. But happy to say that now, as of today, I'm pretty much back on track and sleeping okay.
Very good to hear. Quite soft, typical northern stuff, but what do you expect, hey?
Yeah, indeed. But a great time was had at the conference. I really enjoyed it. It was the first time I've ever been to Vegas. It was everything I expected it to be honest with you. Kind of like
tacky shit.
Blackpool, but with 40-degree heat, basically. Yeah, I just have zero interest of being there for any other reason than a Bitcoin conference, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Just completely wild to me. Like, I arrived at the hotel at like 1 a.m. local time, and there was just like the casino floor was just filled with degenerates just pressing buttons and looking at flashing lights.
Yeah.
And then obviously because of the jet lag and stuff, I was up at like 5. So I went to go and get some coffee and walk through the casino floor again. And it was still, not quite as full, obviously, but there was still hundreds and hundreds of degenerates just sat there pressing buttons at 5 a.m. I'm just thinking like, yeah, I mean, it's like a license to print money, that place. It's completely wild.
Yeah. Do you know what I like in places like that? And I did quite a lot when I was in Vegas, is people watching. I would just settle myself in with a drink and just sit and watch because it is fascinating. And I find the same, like if I go to places that have a port with very expensive yachts, I really like to sit and watch, and you'll have like a fat bloke who's like 4 foot with no hair, fucking looks like an absolute retard with like 3 hookers like around him and getting off his yacht. And just, I love watching those sort of interactions. It's fun. And you can do that a lot in Vegas. It's a great game and you don't lose any money.
At any time of the day as well.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
I got in very late Sunday night and left on Friday afternoon. I left the hotel twice in that time. These hotels are huge.
Yeah.
Everything that you need is in the hotel. We stayed in the Venetian and there's just restaurants everywhere, bars everywhere, convenience stores everywhere. I left twice, once to just go outside and feel the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time was the evening panel I was on with the Bugle Boys, which was great fun.
Oh, yeah. How did that go then? Was it you and Rob Hamilton or something?
It was really good, yeah. So I didn't know much about the event other than it was a Bugle event and I was on a panel. So I got there and it's like this dive bar in a place called Fremont Street, which is kind of like, I drew the analogy that Vegas is just like an upmarket Blackpool. Well, if you imagine like the shittest street in Blackpool, that's what Fremont Street is.
I've been there. I had a really good steak there though.
Nice. So I turned up and it's on like the second floor of like a derelict shopping center.
Yeah.
So walked into this bar. Bar was pretty cool actually. It's a typical dive bar. There's shit everywhere, stuff all over the walls. The toilets look like a bomb's gone off in them. Walked in, got a beer, went there with a couple of the foundation guys, and one of the guys came up to me and said, "Oh, your panel's through here." Walked into this room behind this door and there's a fucking wrestling ring in the middle of the room and just chairs all around it. And it turned out that the panel, all of the talks for that evening were basically just people sitting in the middle of the wrestling ring with microphones, which is very on brand for Bugle, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, it turns out the wrestling ring, after all the talks were finished, was for midget wrestling.
Amazing. How did you do?
Well, I was, again, feeling the effects of jet lag. So I did my talk and I disappeared because I was just wiped out after a full day at the conference as well. So I didn't actually see the midget wrestling, but by all accounts, it was a good laugh. The panel was great. Very good kind of discussion. I was on with Rob Hamilton from Anchor Watch. I was also on with Zach Shapiro, we're going to mention him a couple of times on today's pod.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been very close to, I think he works for BPI, Bitcoin Policy Institute, and he's been very close to kind of the Samurai case and been great for providing updates and stuff. So it was good to meet him and shake his hand, and was also on with Morgan Richard, who is Pierre Richard's wife, who I didn't know they were married. I just didn't put two and two together, and then they walked in together and hey presto, they're married.
Yeah.
So it was a good panel. It was kind of on the discussion of the dichotomy of like number go up, freedom tech, the state of Bitcoin, etc. So it was a good laugh. I don't think the full video is out yet, but when it is, I'm sure you'll be able to see it on the Bugle Twitter page.
I saw a little clip. I saw you repping the Free Samurai clothing.
Of course, as promised.
Very nice. Was there a giveaway?
I'm not sure. As I say, I was completely wiped out, so I didn't see the whole evening's procession. I think they had it planned, but I didn't get any updates thereafter, so you're probably best speaking to the Bugle Boys.
I will make sure those fuckers didn't just pocket them, the little cunts.
But it was good. Yeah, good fun, albeit I was very, very tired. Good to see the usual suspects. Barn was there, Fundamentals was there, so it was good to grab a beer with those boys as well.
Very nice. So Barn was there. Was he behaving himself?
Always. Yeah, he always was. Give me some pleb minor stickers.
Did he? That's good of him.
Yeah.
He's a sweet little goat sometimes.
He is. Yeah. No, it was good to see everyone.
Very nice. It's weird, isn't it? Because the Bugle's like supposed to be a sort of satire, fun news outlet, but actually they cover more important stuff than like 99% of the other bullshit you see out there.
Yeah, indeed. It was great to meet them. First time I've met those guys in person. It was a fun event, and hopefully they'll repeat next year. Oh yeah, next year. It's in the same place.
Nice.
It's in Vegas again next year in April the 27th, I believe, which again, I'm not a massive fan of Vegas, but from a conference perspective, it's like the perfect setup. These hotels are ginormous. They can cope with 20,000 people just dropping in.
Yeah.
The conference center is in the hotel. There's loads of restaurants, loads of bars. Airport's close to the main strip. So from a conference perspective, it's a great location, even if it is 10 hours in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I have to say, where would I prefer to go? Miami or Vegas? I'd probably, for a conference, prefer Vegas as well. I've never been to Miami, but like Miami does nothing for me.
Yeah, it was just the perfect setup for it, really. Everything's just kind of in one building, so it was made life very easy for us. At the booth was great to meet all of the foundation fans and customers and stuff. Met a few people who I'd actually onboarded as part of the concierge service. They came up and introduced themselves and said that they recognized the voice. So that was really nice.
Oh,
to kind
nice.
of see that kind of journey come full circle, hear that they're getting on fine with the devices. And of course, it was the first public outing for Core Stealth mode, and as well as Passport Prime as well. So both were very, very well received, and it was great to get those into the hands, albeit demo units, into the hands of people to they can see them and feel them in real life. So that was exciting.
Yeah, very nice. What was the reception like for the new device?
Overwhelmingly hugely positive. Everybody loves the form factor. They're used to phones, so people love touchscreens. They love all of the kind of usual foundation design touches that you get, like the curved glass and the beveled edges and things like that. So I think we're almost ready to start making some real waves in the kind of hardware wallet / personal security device world. People seem very receptive to this, and the fact that you can do way much more than just kind of throw a seed on it and sign some transactions from it. So looking forward to seeing what people are going to build on it. Also had some very, very interesting conversations with third-party companies and apps. As I'm sure our listeners are well aware, we're building an open app ecosystem here where people like Cake Wallet can build their app for Passport Prime, so that, depending on the use case, customers can leverage the beautiful hardware in Prime, but kind of benefit from like a UI or a function that they're used to. Cake being the example. Oh, I can now have easy cold storage for my Monero or whatever else Cake it supports as well. So lots of interesting kind of business related conversation for similar sorts of relationships. Going to be chasing those down in the weeks and months to come to make sure those sorts of things come into fruition.
Yeah, very nice. The touchscreen and phone lookingness of it not only feels nice and looks nice and it's familiar, but I also feel like it's a lot more stealth. As much as I love the Passport, what do you call it now? Like the OG Passport?
Core.
The Core, that's it, Core. When you're traveling with it, it's a little bit like, if anyone pulls that out, it's like no one really thinks it's a phone. I feel like it's a little bit more obvious, like all the other ones are really. Whereas with that, I think you could probably travel with and anyone would just mistake it for a phone.
Yeah, agreed. Well, they're all just glass slabs these days, aren't they? So Prime is no different.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So that's nice. And yeah, and having the open platform, I'm excited to see where that goes. I know it's going to take some time, but...
That gives me a bit of an idea, actually. We could build our own little app on Prime that locks it into phone mode, so it just has a keypad and stuff on it. Obviously, it wouldn't work, but that'd be good for traveling and stuff. I like that.
I think it'd be good for all sorts of things as well. If you have it on you, because you do more with this than you would with your normal Prime device, if you have it on you and someone tries to mug you or something like that, if you just generally have it in that kind of phone mode, it would be a lot less obvious what it is. Like most people wouldn't have any fucking idea what that is. They're like, oh, it's probably just some random Chinese phone, or like I've never heard of it.
Agreed. Yeah, making a note of that one. It's a great idea.
We have so many.
Outside of that, a couple of other foundation news and topic updates. We sent a shipping update out for both devices. So if you're a customer and you placed an order, please check your emails or head to the community forum for full details on that. TLDR, we're getting even closer. We appreciate your patience, and we're a matter of a couple of weeks away now from beginning shipping. So praise the supply chain gods.
Very good. Very good.
And finally, the team will be, or some of the team will be in Prague next weekend for I think it's just called Bitkey Prague, the biggest conference, I believe, by numbers in Europe. We've got a small booth there. So if you're in attendance, please feel free to go and say hello to the team and get your hands on Stealth and Passport Prime.
Awesome. Will you be attending?
Afraid not. No, I'm heading to a friend's wedding. Otherwise, I would have been heading to Prague.
You have friends?
One or two. What about you, mate? Have you got any other life updates?
Not really, other than I've lost loads of weight.
Intentionally, or?
Yeah, I got a bit too into the lifestyle where I'm living and the booze and everything else. And so I just woke up one day, I was like, nope, no more. So I think it's like 12, 13 days now where it's been full carnivore, just basically red meat, eggs, water, salt, black coffee, air. That's it.
Well, fill up on the air, mate, because it's got no calories in it.
Yeah, it's extremely dull, but it is fucking crazy. Like, it makes me laugh whenever I hear people say, like, oh, I can't lose weight. I've tried everything. I've done the Weight Watchers. I'm counting my calories. I'm doing, and then I think I need to have the Ozempic. And I'm like, listen, you cunt. You just have some self-control and you just do what I'm doing. It is boring as shit. Oh, and it's 24-hour fast. So I eat 1 meal a day, one plate of food a day,
Jesus
and I
Christ.
wait 24 hours, and then I'll eat, and then nothing again. And honestly, like, it just fucking falls off. Like, ridiculous amount of weight loss. I'm sure I would lose more weight in a week than the average, like, person who's really trying to lose weight would in, like, 2 months or 3 months.
Nice. On a similar sort of note, was listening to you and Kareem the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting podcast. Got well, I've always had an interest in health and working out and sort of that sort of stuff. Never have and probably never will be a bit of a gearhead, but it was interesting to get some sort of insights from somebody who's dabbled in that sort of world before. It was a very interesting conversation to listen to.
Yeah, it was good. What I like as well is, like, with Kerem, he doesn't just bro science it and watch like a fucking TikTok video and then like regurgitate stuff he doesn't understand. Like, he's a fucking weird guy, but he does know his stuff. Like, he really goes into it and really like looks at the science behind things and takes care with what he's doing. So it is like a good resource for that kind of stuff. I don't think I would either like do any of the juice stuff or any of that kind of thing. I just kind of, not for me. But it fucking works. The bloke, not so much now, but when he was properly on it, was an absolute monster. Like a fucking scary monster. I remember going to the gym with him one time. I was like doing my squats, whatever. And he just walks over to the squat rack and then just shoulder presses my squat for reps, God. Like many reps, like many reps more than I was squatting, and then just puts it down like it was nothing. And I was like, I'm off to the women's bathroom. I'll see you in a bit.
Love it.
Yeah. But no, good episode. If anyone hasn't had a listen, it's not just about the juice, but also like the testosterone stuff is an interesting one, especially like as we start getting older, doing things as much as we can naturally, but there comes a point where you just can't do it anymore. And then there are some things that you can do to feel a lot better. Everyone that I've spoken to who's on it, who's a little bit older, like, I'm never going back.
Nice. I've watched a couple of videos of quote unquote fitness YouTubers who've, are of a 40 plus kind of age, and, they all rave about it as well.
Yeah. So outside of that, nothing really new, mate. Few things I've heard whisperings of, but nothing we can talk about yet.
Intriguing.
What else? That's it, I think. What do we got software update wise or news wise?
Yeah, in that case, shall we hit the news?
I think so.
Okay, first on the list, update from our good friend Zach Shapiro from BPI on the Samurai case. This came out on June the 4th, so it is almost a week old news now. But a couple of points here. The defendants have filed motions to dismiss both charges against them. Number 2, suppress certain evidence obtained by the government's search of defendants' homes, electronic devices. And number 3, defendant Hill has moved for a separate trial from Rodriguez, which the last point is very intriguing to me. I've heard some kind of private takes as to why that might be the case, but I'm kind of not going to discuss those publicly, but it does seem kind of interesting turn of events to me. And their lawyers have a strategy here. I'm not entirely sure what that is. Yeah, wasn't expecting that one. Some further comments. There's been a brief in support of motion to dismiss, which has got various people quoted. Senator Lummis and Jameson Lott being two of the notables. And there's a couple of lines in this brief to support the motion to dismiss, which are worth reading out. The indictment against defendants Rodriguez and Hill alleges conduct that is lawful under the relevant statutes and the government's own long-standing interpretation of those statutes. So basically, just fully in support. Another one here, DOJ should have dismissed the case under the Blanche Memo, which we talked about last time. But at a minimum, the Blanche Memo reflects that the industry participants, like the defendants, were caught in the crossfire between the DOJ's aggressive new regulatory position and FinCEN's long-standing approach to anonymizing software like Samurai Wallet. Nothing kind of new here. It's just kind of some big names coming out in support here to kind of give a bit more weight behind the motion to dismiss. given the judge's comments in recent times on this and adjacent cases, I'm pessimistic on the outcome of a motion to dismiss. But, you've got to try these things, haven't you?
You have.
Some other good news. In a footnote in the brief, we've learned for the first time publicly that, as in the Tornado Cash prosecution, the government is now no longer going after one of the points here, which is money transmission under the Bank Secrecy Act. However, the government still alleges that the defendants transmitted funds pursuant to B1C, whatever that means, and operated a financial institution for the purpose of the money laundering conspiracy charge. And then cap it off, unfortunately, with a tiny bit of bad news. Judge Berman denied the defence's request to submit a 35-page as opposed to a 25-page brief. And even worse, denied the defence's request to file amicus briefs by BTC Policy, Coin Center, Blockchain Association, and Fund DeFi. So, quote from Zach Shapiro, sadly, it looks like you won't be hearing from me in this case as in any official capacity. So basically, they're blocking certain industry experts to kind of back up the defense case.
Well, fuck you very much, Berman.
Indeed.
Judge Berman, you dirty little cunt. You dirty little rat.
Nice. Say it as it is. I like it. But yeah, co-sign it all. As always, no major news, but those are the latest developments. And as always, we'll keep you abreast of anything new that comes out. Next on the list was just a quick reminder, really, that at the same time as the Vegas conference, Oslo Freedom Forum happened at the exact same weekend, which is pretty frustrating because I would have loved to have gone to Oslo again. But yeah, check out the links in the show notes if you want to go and check out any of the talks from the financial freedom track. Some usual suspects in there that have done some, I believe, some great talks and some great workshops. So links to that will be in the show notes. And next year's conference, thankfully, doesn't clash with the Vegas one. Next year, you'll be able to get tickets for June 1st to June 3rd.
Nice.
Okay, next on the list. This is going to be a spicy... Well, it probably won't be a spicy one between me and you, but I just wanted to bring it up to... Well, I kind of already know what your vantage point is going to be here, but I want to...
Do you? I'm going to say something different then, just to throw you off.
Interesting. Okay, well, looking forward to it. There's been a debate raging...
Now, we're looking at the raging debate.
Quite fiery on Twitter and probably on Nostr, although it's predominantly been on Twitter. Around, well, it was sparked by some marketing by Jack, Twitter Jack, not Hoodie Jack.
Okay.
Where he basically was backing up, obviously, his company, Bitkey, basically saying that Seedless approach to Bitcoin self-custody is safer. Naturally, 99.9% of the industry didn't agree, especially all of the hardware wallet companies for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And that sparked a raging debate where there's kind of two schools of thought here that, and I kind of sit somewhere in the middle here, but before I play my cards, I want to see where you sit. So let me give you a quick bit of background. The Bitkey operates where you don't see a seed. You have a mobile wallet, you have a hardware device with no screen on it that they generate you a seed for that you never ever see and you can't see even if you wanted to see. And then they also have a key held by the company on a server, and they operate on a multi-sig kind of solution where you need 2 of 3 signatures to move any funds. You can, this might be a bit of a grey area, but in my opinion, you can call it self-custody because the user is in control of 2 keys, even though they didn't generate them. So there is some nuance there. So Bitkey can't kind of steal from you. So that's why I would classify it as self-custody. But you're kind of locked into their ecosystem in a roundabout way because you never see the seeds. The only way you can get out of their ecosystem is to spend funds, which in most scenarios you can do, obviously. And even if Bitkey were to go away, you can still reconstitute the wallet, albeit it is a kind of convoluted approach to be able to reconstitute, which involves like downloading an APK from a different website, etc., which for 90% of the Western world that have iPhones might be prohibitively quite difficult for obvious reasons. But yeah, they've taken this approach, and they're quite clever marketing is saying, look, you don't need to see a seed. If you build the architecture in the right way and have the relevant kind of get out of jail paths, then we don't need to burden the user with looking after a seed. On the flip side of that, you've got pretty much the rest of the industry that have already coalesced over the course of the last 15 years over to a seed standard where all of the wallets, be they mobile, be they desktop or hardware, all operate on the BIP39 seed standard, so that you have the ultimate in portability. If you buy a passport off us and you decide in 1 month or in 20 years that you don't like it or you can't use it because you've broken it and Foundation doesn't exist and you can't get another hardware wallet, the beauty of BIP39 is that all you need to do is take those words into any other wallet and restore access to your funds. There's no convoluted kind of recovery process, etc., etc. It's just enter words into wallet, restore funds, job done. I lean heavily towards the seed word standard for obvious reasons. I'm all about kind of openness, transparency, portability, and giving users free choice. But I kind of recognize some of the trade-offs and some of the rationale that the Bitkey team would mention in terms of it is still a bit of a weird situation where we onboard people to self-custody, particularly around hardware wallets, where we say, right, this is important. This is for your life savings. Here's this super secure device. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in research to make it the most secure thing possible so that you can't get into it, you can't hack it, and you can't extract the private keys or the seed words from it. Oh, and by the way, as part of the onboarding, we want you to go and write down these seed words in plain text and then go and look after them. I've got some more takes, but I'm going to pause to see what you think on the whole thing, Max.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think there's something really powerful about having stamped into steel your seed words and being able to import those to any wallet, anywhere, anytime. If there's any failure and you're not trusting in software that you don't understand, you can find peace with that. That like if everything else fails, a company goes away, there's a fault somewhere, whatever it is, you can always just go and get those seed words and you can use them in any other wallet. And I think that's really important. That said, I do understand why people are trying to simplify things, because it is a bit like, it doesn't feel difficult once you've done it for a while, but when you're trying to onboard new people and you're like, yeah, set this up and these are your seed words and don't store them anywhere that you shouldn't and blah blah blah, there is a risk that the average person is going to act like an average person and do something where their security is going to be very average. Yeah. Like writing it on a piece of paper and leaving it in a drawer, writing it on a piece of paper and then actually not remembering what drawer it's in, writing it on a bit of paper where that drawer is accessible to anyone, like just dumb shit where they can shoot themselves in the foot. But I don't think that not having a screen and not letting someone see their seed words to have a physical backup is the answer. There are a lot of like in-betweeny things where you can do. I like how you guys have the being able to back up onto a micro SD and having a separate code. I think that's quite nice, but you also still can have your seed words. You can do this like magic backup and encrypted stuff and cloud stuff, which is not for me, but I understand why it's that kind of middle ground. But to say that seedless is safer, I think is disingenuous.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with most of what you just said as well. I think it's been some clever marketing as well. I think they've done a great job around this. I've actually been through the onboarding process for the Bitkey. This might sound weird for me to say as one of their competitors, but I do think they've done a great job, and it really demonstrated what you can do if you hide the important stuff away from the user, albeit with significant trade-offs, of course, which we've kind of just mentioned. The bit that I think is past most people by in this debate, specifically when we're looking at the Bitkey approach, where we say seedless is safe, or they say seedless is safer, is we're not really comparing apples and oranges here, because it's a seedless multi-sig where you've got fault tolerance built in. You can't compare that with seedless single sig, which is what most of the industry talks about, because you don't have any fault tolerance with a single signature approach that most people have. So I kind of feel like sometimes we're talking past each other and we're not comparing like for like, because it's, seedless does make a little bit more sense in a multi-sig setting because you have that fault tolerance built in, and Casa pioneered this years ago. Like, they did exactly the same thing to try and kind of hide some complexity from the user. So I just wanted to kind of spell that out a little bit. Like, people immediately outraged by the tagline of seedless is safer, but when you delve under the hood a little bit and you realize that they're saying seedless multi-sig versus don't never see a seed at all, we're not comparing the exact same thing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, and also like it was to evoke a response. It's not like they've said seedless is safer and not think that that's provocative and it's going to like rile every Twitter maxi keyboard warrior in the world, and that's then going to become a massive talking point, and loads of people are going to see that device and they're probably going to sell more devices because of it. Like, it's not like that hasn't been thought about.
Yeah. From the Bitkey perspective, if I was one of the more focused Bitcoiners within that camp, this is a really easy fix for them. You know, if I was a better man, I'm sure they'd probably already thinking about this, but they could still have the great onboarding that they've got. All they need to do is give the user optionality.
The option, yeah.
So you could go into the settings and download the mobile key. You could go into, well, you can't go into the device because it's got no fucking screen. That's a topic for a separate conversation.
It's extremely dumb that. I hate that it doesn't have a screen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm never ever in a million years going to defend that. But like, they could architect their setup in a way that they still have the onboarding, but the default flow is it's obfuscated away. But if you want to delve under the hood and you know enough, you can go and get your descriptor, you can go and get your seed words. And you know who's doing that? Albeit not in a multi-sig setting.
Who?
Yet.
What do you mean?
Us.
Oh, I thought you meant on their device. I thought you meant like, do you know who's making the software for their device?
No,
like, what?
No, not at all. What I mean is, you can give the user both things. You can obfuscate the default onboarding process to make it that you can get set up in a couple of minutes and you don't have to be bombarded with write these things down, don't take a photo of them, yada, 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 yada. You don't have to have that shock factor at onboarding. But when you learn enough, you can be like, oh, everybody on podcasts is talking about seed words. I want to go and, I want to go and stamp them into steel. When they're ready, they can go and do that. That's exactly what we're doing with Prime. Is the default onboarding is NFC, tap to the back of the card. We'll split your seed words into 3 Shamir shares. And we're just going to tell you to go and store them all separately. Yeah. Obviously, we'll give you more instruction than that. But there's no direct writing down, stamping in. But if from the second you're onboarded, you want to go and grab your seed words, by all means, go and get them, go and stamp them into steel, go and bury them in your yard. Like, you can achieve both.
Yeah,
if you are.
We talked about that when you and Zach were on. Like, I really like that Shamir and like the 3 different cards, and like it's really slick and really like makes sense to. It's like an analog thing, but as you say, it's like the fact that you can then at a later stage go and do it is the important bit, and the fact that you can't,
yes,
with the Bitkey,
yeah,
immediately raises alarm bells, rightly or wrongly. Like, they could be absolutely fine and whatever, but it just makes me like, why the fuck would you not give users the opportunity, even if it's a like restricted it, like, you know, warning, if you don't understand what you're doing, please read these guides first, warning before someone gets to it. It's like a developer mode or something they could have in there, just to like make sure that people aren't then gonna write their seed words down next to like a fucking security camera in a coffee shop or something. People do just dumb shit, don't they? So if you just had all the correct warnings, then that would be completely reasonable to have that in there. And not having it, I think it's twofold. It's bad for the user, but I also think it's kind of trying to change what is normal within Bitcoin and trying to steer it more and more away from self-sovereignty, which is something that I see constantly over the last couple of years. It's don't worry about your self-custody, buy an ETF. Don't worry about freedom. It's about number go up. Don't worry about taking ownership and taking control and all that good stuff. Just trust this company. You don't even need to see the seed words. Just trust us. And I think that's an insidious behavior and idea for the industry and pushes people in the wrong way. And the skeptical side of me thinks that this is something that's potentially funded by people who don't have the best interests at heart for Bitcoin and for users and for freedom.
Yeah, that's a great take on it all. I don't think I've got much more to add, but yeah, just like user choice with sane defaults, that if you're building a self-custody tool, understand that most people are newbies. You're more often than not, and Foundation's no different, your biggest fans and your most vocal supporters are often the more advanced people. So never ever kind of forget those types of people. I say that, I'm not assuming that seed words are advanced, because in my opinion, they're not, but user choice, freedom, no soft vendor lock-in, which is kind of what I'm starting to kind of dub this Bitkey thing, is like, you're not technically locked in, but like for most people with who this is marketed at, it's difficult to get out.
Yeah, agreed.
When we were talking about Vegas, I also forgot to mention, to kind of come full circle here, the fact that Ross was on stage giving a keynote speech, because I was working the booth. I didn't get a chance to see it, and I haven't had a chance to watch it back just yet, but I just wanted to mention it because it feels like for the entire length of this time that you and I have been recording, all those years, we've been talking about Ross being free, and then I just wanted to take the opportunity to be able to say, like, Ross is on stage at a Bitcoin conference. It's just a nice end to a bit of a journey.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. It's been forever, and just the fact that he's free is like a huge win. A huge win. And it kind of annoyed me when I saw a load of people like moaning on Twitter and saying like, oh, he's talking about, I can't even remember what it was now, like something about, was it the ETFs or shitcoins? He was talking about, there's all these different blockchains and there's this and there's that. It's like, listen, guys, first of all, he was never a Bitcoin maximalist type. He was just using a technology to use within a website that he created because he thought it was important that people could transact freely and that this would be a good idea. So he was just fitting a couple of technologies together. It's not like he fucking loved Bitcoin more than anything in the world and that's all he thought about. That's one. And two, like, he's just come out of a fucking cage that he's been in for God knows how long. Like, give him a fucking break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basically been in a time machine for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, can you hear that rain?
I cannot.
Okay, fine. It's proper rain.
All right, next on the list, one that hasn't come across my desk until today, doing a bit of research for the show, the Clarity Act. I've never even heard of this before. Have you heard of this, Max?
The Clarity Act? No, I've not heard of the Clarity Act.
No, so apparently this is a proposed piece of legislation, of course, in the US that, again, as the name suggests, aims to bring some clarity to the wider crypto ecosystem. And there's some interesting terminology in here, which, if passed, would be very promising. There's a couple of points here from our good mate, Frank Corver, who I also met at the Bugle event. It was nice to finally meet him. Some comments here around the treatment of certain non-controlling blockchain developers. A non-controlling, read non-custodial, blockchain developer or provider of a blockchain service shall not be treated as a money transmitter or engaged in money transmitting. Decentralized finance activities won't be subject to this act. This includes developing and publishing software systems that deploy hardware or software that includes wallets that facilitate a user's ability to keep, safeguard, or custody the user's private keys. And the Bank Secrecy Act will only be applied when assessing risks associated with centralized intermediaries. So it's kind of like the common sense shit that we've been talking about and assuming was actually understood for years and years, up until all of the legal action that we've seen and talked about ad nauseum for the past 12 months. Again, I've got no idea how much weight this has in terms of being passed, but it's good to see that this is at the forefront of US law proposal, I guess. Would be very positive if it did get passed, but as with anything to do with the law, especially in the US, we'll believe it when we see it enshrined into law. But it's good to see people kind of pushing for this sort of stuff, again, in the wake of all of the shit that open source developers are having to go through and fight at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Next up, another announcement from a conference in Vegas. Mr. Dorsey's block is to bring Bitcoin payments to all Square terminals by 2026. Usually, I wouldn't bring up this type of news because sometimes it can just turn into complete vaporware. But these Square terminals are fucking everywhere. In most countries that I ever visit, there's, generally speaking, these Square terminals, particularly in the US actually, like they're all over the place. A lot of these like built-in, self-service POS things where they've got screens or the tap-to-go card machines and stuff like that. A lot of them, and an even increasing number as time goes on, are Square terminals. So if it comes to fruition, big caveat, this would basically unlock Bitcoin payments to any merchant that has one of those Square terminals, which is pretty fucking cool. In the back end, I think the default is that, you'll just have the option to accept it. And if you don't do anything, it will just auto convert to whatever that is the local currency, which is what most vendors are going to want. But obviously, it enables people like you or I to spend our Bitcoin much more easily if it comes to fruition. So the fact that this is the biggest payment processors and terminal providers in the world is very, very promising to me. So going to be keeping an eye on this one, and we'll be quite excited if this comes to fruition, because I can pay for my haircuts in it then.
Yeah, it would actually be very fucking useful for those of us who actually live on and use Bitcoin. Have they got any timeline or any sort of stated?
It just says a rollout to begin later this year before a full launch in 2026.
Okay.
So next year.
That would be very, very good.
Yeah, indeed. So I know we like to give Mr. Dorsey a hard time, but it'd be good to see if this, kudos if this does.
I don't think we give him that much of a hard time. I think, like me and John have dug into some of the stuff that seems shady as fuck on a couple of episodes, and there's definitely, you sometimes just smell a rat, but credit where it's due.
The only downside is because this is so widespread, and Jack and the Bitkey team are very much in the get rid of sats and just use the Bitcoin symbol camp. What this means is that most of these terminals by default are going to show, let's say my haircut is 9,256 sats. They're going to show it as 9,256 Bitcoin with the Bitcoin logo before the 9 at the start, which I fucking hate.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Obviously, like, they're going to show the dollar or the pound amount underneath, so it's going to minimize confusion, but I don't know. I'm just in the sats camp personally.
I'm in the sats camp. Or if you're like, oh, we can't have sats for some reason, like if we have sats, then the world's going to fucking explode. I'd be like, okay, just have Bitcoin. 0.000 or like even like millibits or anything is better than changing sats to Bitcoin. Like, how many Bitcoin are there? Oh, there's only 21 million. It's like a big thing that everyone sells. Like, oh yeah, it's only 21 million. There can only ever be 21 million. Actually, a little bit less because blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, how? Because I've just spent 21 million on my fucking dinner. It's fucking retarded.
Yeah, indeed. I like the hybrid approach, which is what we do in Envoy, is that we show, I think by default, we show all 8 decimal places. But let's say it's 9,000 sats. All of the leading zeros will be like in a faint gray, and then the actual kind of sat amount, so let's say 9,256, would be in like a bold color. So you can see all the decimal points, but it's very, very easy, even at a glance, to see, oh, it's 9,256, because there's, in that example, there's 4 bold numbers.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So we'll see, but promising news. Not so promising news. The EU is to ban anonymous crypto accounts and privacy coins by 2027. Now, you could just call this non-news, because most of the privacy coins are kind of, albeit softly, outlawed already, because you can't just buy them on any centralized exchanges. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds as though they're kind of doubling down on this kind of narrative here. So the European Union, also known as the Gulag, is set to impose sweeping AML rules that will ban privacy-preserving tokens and anonymous cryptocurrency accounts from 2027. The bit that is more interesting to me here is that final piece, where they say anonymous cryptocurrency accounts. Like, that's quite a wide term that could be applied with a very, very differing application. Do you know what I mean?
Say that again.
The European Union is set to impose sweeping anti-money laundering rules that will ban privacy-preserving tokens, so Monero, etc., and anonymous cryptocurrency accounts from 2027. Like, what does anonymous cryptocurrency accounts even mean?
Nothing. My assumption would be they'll go after the decentralized exchanges where you can do swaps or that kind of stuff. That would be my guess, is like they've already gone after the centralized entities that were allowing you to buy, sell, swap, whatever. So then all the users have moved away from that, and now they're using, is it Havino and all these, me and Seth were covering it on the last episode. They've moved to those. So then they'll try and go after these things and fail, obviously, because it's like, good luck. And then they probably mean accounts as in like wallets, because they don't understand what the fuck they're talking about, because they're the European Union and they're retards.
Well, that's the point that I'm trying to kind of eke out here, is that you could apply, like, it is an account on Envoy for your passport. Is that an anonymous account? You know, we don't collect any of your data. To us, it's anonymous.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, if you look where they're going directionally, it would be very bad for anyone
Yeah.
to have any type of freedom or privacy at all. And so, yeah, I would guess that they're probably vague on purpose and keep moving in that direction. We know they're going to keep doing that. And so then it's just make the tools as good as you can for as long as you can before they completely go mental. I don't know. It kind of seems like an obvious thing that they're going to do, but it doesn't make it any less disgusting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Intentionally vague.
Yeah.
I think we've said that before so that they can
Mm-hmm.
decide what it means later on when they want to prosecute somebody.
Exactly.
The only other thing they have said here is under the new regulatory framework, CASPs, crypto asset service providers, I believe, operating in at least 6 member states will be under direct AML supervision. In the initial stage, AMLA plans to select 40 entities with at least one entity per member state. So it sounds like they're doing it selectively at first. So if you're a business, read between the lines, you got nothing to worry about because we're only going to pick one person for now. The threshold includes a minimum of 20,000 customers residing in the host member state. So yeah, again, it reads as though they're going to target exchanges at first,
Lovely.
and then move in from there. But we'll see. My Telegram's going nuts. Sorry, let me just quit that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're so popular.
Somebody's just joined a group chat. Okay, next on the list, we have a statement from the Bitcoin core developers around the transaction relay policy, which ties into all of the NOTs drama and all of the op return, data carrier size limits, yada, yada, yada. The link will be in the show notes. I'm not going to sit here and read it verbatim, but they kind of take the common sense approach, which Max and I think John has also mentioned as well, is that, look, people are going to do shit that you don't agree with. We are not going to lock all of the doors and kibosh some legitimate use cases to try and stop these and then proceed with a game of whack-a-mole. We're not promoting this type of usage, but it is the least harmful way that these types of entities can operate rather than bloating the UTXO set, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. So it's not anything new. It's just that they've come out with an official statement. And since we've been recording, they have actually merged the pull request into Bitcoin Core literally 30 minutes ago. That basically removes the data carrier size on op returns by default. Haven't had time to read into it to see whether or not you can configure it in the settings afterwards. I'm sure that will still be an option, but the default data carrier size now is that there is no limit. So what that means is that there's kind of no op return limit, so that it incentivizes the types of entities to be able to use that prunable data storage method rather than just kind of stuffing everything into multiple outputs and just forcing everybody that has a node to consistently look after a bigger and bigger UTXO set. So in my opinion, common sense has prevailed, and I'm glad that this is the end of it. Well, hopefully it's the end of it and we can go on to whining about something else.
I don't know. I feel like this is such a movement that people are going to hold on to it. Even if it's just for virtue tokens, I still feel like people are going to do this for a good while now.
Yeah, well, I think that's the kind of point here, is that the other side of this argument, or the other camp where they're like, no, fix the filters, yada, yada, yada. They can still do that. They can go and run knots, knowing, as we know, complete waste of time. They can, feel good that their node and their mempool is not relaying the stuff that they don't like, but ultimately it's not going to stop it getting into a block. And everybody else, i.e. the majority of the network who runs the latest Bitcoin Core update, when this pull request gets forms part of a release, will continue to have, accurate mempool estimations and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, hopefully they calm down a little bit. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll just move on to the next argument.
Yeah.
Which could be this next news point. James O'Byrne, again, I think this was only this morning, so hot off the press. James O'Byrne has written a letter to the technical Bitcoin community, which has been co-signed by loads and loads of other kind of industry and economical players. Foundation is one of those, I must stress, to back this. Basically, where they've written an open letter to say, look, it's about time that we start to have serious discussions about activating CTV, BIP 119, and op Check Sig from Stack, which you'll see on Twitter as CSFS, which is BIP 348. Basically, we're ready. These things they've been well tested. They've been discussed for, in the CTV case, over 5 years now. And the cosign think it's time to start to implement this sort of stuff. So I'm hoping, obviously I back this as well, we've co-signed at Foundation, that we can start to push forward the open PRs, which again will be linked in the show notes, to kind of bring this to fruition in the next 6 to 12 months so that we can stop bike shedding about it. And, it's high time that these, from my research, quite safe upgrades and quite low code admission changes for what they enable, it's high time that we get them into Bitcoin Core. Don't know whether you've had a chance to kind of dive into the whole CTV thing and whether you've got any thoughts on this.
I have, but it was so long ago and so much has happened in life since then that I've kind of switched off from a lot of this stuff. So do you mind giving me a quick rundown? It's like check template verify or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, check template verify and check sig from Stack. They go hand in hand to unleash a lot of cool use cases and scaling solutions with Bitcoin. I won't go into too deep into the technicals on kind of how it works because that's way above my pay grade. But basically, CTV is like how you can encumber your coins and dictate how they can, once they're in your control, how they can then be spent thereafter.
So this is like putting spending conditions and like
on your own coins.
Yes. Okay.
And then Check Sig from Stack goes hand in hand to enable some of these use cases that I'll mention in a second. It's just a case of how like the transaction is verified. So rather than verifying a signature against the whole transaction, I believe it's basically you verify a signature against like a part of a transaction. And again, we're getting way too technical now and I'm kind of almost out of my depth, but that enables the following basically when you combine it with CTV. So we've got things like simplified Lightning Network. You've probably heard things like L2, which simplifies channel updates. If we got these updates in, it would mean that your nodes don't have to continually keep like a whole list of all of the states in like a database. They just keep the latest one, which would make running a Lightning node easier. So it would massively improve the efficiency there and just improve like channel management, basically. You can also do, it improves discrete log contracts, which enables like off-chain things like betting and anything that involves a third-party oracle, basically. That's all improved with CTV. Vaults, which is another one that's probably the most talked about one, where you can encumber your coins to be like, when I receive these, I don't want them to be spent until this block height, or when they're spent to, it needs to go to this address. So you can have like an early warning system if anything happens to your main stack. It just makes like securing Bitcoin in self-custody much more foolproof. So that's one of the biggest ones here.
That's massive to me.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's something that ever since it's been talked about, I've been like, because a lot of this stuff I'm like, I don't really care. Like it's not, that interesting to me. But that I hear the things that it can do in theory, and I'm like, fucking hell, my security setup could be way better than it is now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then you've got like some more niche stuff, like it improves other scaling stuff like BitVM and another one called floating signatures, which I don't really know a great deal about, but basically it unlocks a lot of stuff. Oh, you can also do cool stuff with like mining payouts, where you can optimize like for fees and, pay people out in smaller amounts, but still give them self-custody, where previously you'd have to go, and do that sort of stuff on Lightning, run all of that infrastructure. Exchanges can do stuff like, I believe, what's the tagline that they've been using? Congestion control, where they can kind of pay people out using CTV outputs, but have the customer be able to claim those in lower fee environments and that sort of stuff. So there's loads of different use cases that can be implemented with these two combined. Arc is another one, which is kind of like a scaling solution, which is like a layer 2 network, which is possible without CTV, but it becomes drastically easier to implement with CTV, and it makes the overheads much, much smaller. So again, some of this sort of stuff is like pie in the sky. We've got a concept. Other stuff is like, we know this would make self-custody better tomorrow. And for that reason alone, it's enough for me to get behind it and support it. And you've got so many people on this list here that, real kind of industry players that have got behind this. Seth from Cake, Rob Hamilton, Portland Hoddle, Jameson Lopp, Evan from Zeus, Ben Carmen, Andrew Polstra. Like, there's a wide range of people in full support of this now.
Yeah, in theory, as long as it's safe to do, and that's what you lean on those types of people for, to check and make sure that it's not going to do something like drastically bad and going to fuck everything up. But in theory, just for that control over your security and being able to, I would say, like, you know, there was that thing where it was like multi-sig is a 10x improvement on single sig. Like everyone was like, oh, it's like 10x better. Well, I think like this would make it 10x better.
Yeah, I agree. Like this will unleash, purely just looking at the vaulting side of things, there'll be loads more companies and wallet projects that pop up just to leverage that and give those sorts of options to users outside of all of the other stuff like Arc that I've mentioned as well. So
we covered it, was it 2 episodes ago or 3 episodes ago? We really went into Arc for, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah, indeed, we did. That's a very promising solution as well in terms of make some great trade-offs in terms of like it gives you the speed of payments of Lightning without like the inbound liquidity stuff or problems, should I say. So I'm kind of quietly optimistic about Arc and, you know, seeing that CTV is getting more weight behind it. And knowing what that can do for things like Arc in terms of making it much easier to run and get off the ground. Very nice to see this letter come out, and we'll, of course, keep everybody abreast of what the kind of feedback to it is, because I'm sure there's going to be some pushback. But just one final thing to add a little bit more weight around. You made a sensible comment where it was like, if this is safe, then yeah, I want it. Check Sig from Stark has been in the Blockstream Elements code, which powers the Liquid network, for 8 years. And Jeremy Rubin, the kind of father of CTV, has had something like a 5 Bitcoin bounty on finding a hole in his code for basically since he released it, and nobody's claimed that yet. So this has been battle tested and incentivized for people to poke holes in it for literally years, and nobody's been able to do it yet. So I'm excited to see the conversation moving forward.
Very good.
Okay, just a couple of software updates before we can sign off with the boosts, mate. Phoenix version 2.6.1 has been released. This is pretty cool. Phoenix can now read NFC tags as well as broadcast a Phoenix Bitcoin address or Lightning payment request via NFC. This comes as an alternative to QR codes for sharing payment requests between devices. Pretty nice. I like that. This is available, surprisingly, on both iOS and Android. Apple, of course, renowned for locking down their NFC functionality. Oh, hang on. I got too excited. Note that on iOS, emulating the NFC tag is limited to users in the European Economic Area due to restrictions by Apple. That's one thing that the EU have done right then. Sorry, Americans. Oh, they've also added, this is pretty cool, a spending pin as well. So this pin controls spending and is separate from the lock pin, which can control to open the app. This is useful if you want to let someone use your wallet to receive funds, but not be able to spend or view the seed. Very nice. I think I might steal that and use it in Envoy. That's great.
Bloody cloner.
Zeus Pay Plus is now live. So this is a service by, of course, the guys from Zeus, where you can sign up for a year and you get a custom Lightning address or multiple custom Lightning address handles, access to the web-based point of sale, early access to new features, 20% off all LSP channel leasing services, and access to exclusive merch, which is coming soon. So that's pretty cool and great for kind of small merchants who don't want to have to handle all of the Lightning headache. You can just allow Zeus Pay and a Zeus Pay Plus subscription to handle all of that for you. Don't know on costings here because there's nothing linked in the tweet, but
Okay.
Cool little product to have on board. And I'm going to try and check out or find a link that we can include in the show notes that includes the costings as well. Finally, Nunchuk 1.69.1 has been released. They have added manual and automatic fee selection to Taproot multisig wallets. You can show saved address labels in the transaction details, and you have the option to rebroadcast rejected transactions as well. That's it for updates. Let's hit the boost, mate. I'll let you go first.
Okay. WebWipe with an XMR chat for 0.043455685 XMR. We're hosting a privacy meetup in Charlotte, North Carolina on July the 26th from 6 to 10 p.m. at Great Wagon Road Distilling. Topics include privacy tools for XMR and BTC, Cake Wallet, Ashigaru presentation, thank you to Ungovernable Misfits, and Dojo Bay, NIM VPN, Simplex, and more all are welcome. Very, very nice.
That sounds like a meetup I'd like to go to.
Yeah. What an awesome topic selection you've got there. That is very different to a lot of meetups that I see. So keep it going. And anyone who's anywhere near there, I would highly suggest you go and check it out.
Panjo with 0.0067547 XMR. This is in response to me asking for a reminder on bounty, or a very tongue-in-cheek bounty that I mentioned, and I can't remember what it was for now. But Panjo said, I believe it was 100 sats per person and a hug. Thanks for the reminder, Max. Please donate an undisclosed amount to hashtag FreeSamurai. As for the hug, maybe I'll catch Q at a conference someday. Fine by me. And yeah, I'll go ahead and do the FreeSamurai donation on your behalf. Thank you very much.
Very nice. 100 sats well spent. It was for an Ali G quote, wasn't it?
That was it. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Panjo. Well played.
RESTECP. Do you even know what that spells?
One of my kids the other day, I can't remember why, I was like, Boyakasha! And then they've taken to practicing that around the house.
Love it.
It's very good. Late Stage Huddle with 10,000 sats. Hashtag FreeSamurai.
Kristin Lindgren with 10,000 sats. Hashtag FreeSamurai.
Barn Miner on Podverse. Change the name in app so you're not an anon, you fucking cunt, you dirty little goat, clean your hooves, expatriotic. That's a message from expatriotic to you, Barn Miner. 3,333 sats. Damn, 30th floor baller. I was 5-111.
That's his room number in Vegas.
I did not touch any gambling. I gamble with mining enough as it is. 10 days is long. Jesus. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you, Barn Miner.
Pies with 1,000 sats.
Hey, chingity ching.
Fuck off, you British cunt fags. Joke. You all know I've got nothing but love for you cunts. You brought the world my favourite sport, hooliganism. You're welcome.
Shadowy Super Badger streamed over 5,000 sats on the last two shows. User 7324147 streamed 510 sats, and Turkey streamed 500 sats. So thank you to all the people streaming sats across. Thank you for all the boosts, even to Pies, who's calling us cunts every single time. We love you all.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for getting involved, guys. You are the ones that keep this show going.
You definitely are.
As well as Jordan and the rest of the gang.
Yeah, thank you to all of you cunts as well. Have you ever watched, talking of hooliganism, did you ever watch like Green Street and Football Factory and all those?
Of course. I was a wannabe one of those back in the day, going to watch my
Were
local
you?
town. Yeah, with the Burberry and Aquascutum cap on. Yeah, that was
A little hooligan.
Never once had a single fight, anything, just to shout from the terraces.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, fellow Bitcoiner, and he was like, yeah, I was part of whatever firm it was, like one of these German firms. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I didn't even know you liked football. He was like, no, I loved fighting though. He was like, I did it for like 5 years, went to every single game, had all the fights, like fucking was like proper into it. It was like the person I would least expect to have been involved in that kind of stuff. So you never know.
Always the quiet ones you've got to watch.
Yeah, exactly. They're not my scene, really. I don't even like football. Every single person that I meet anywhere around the world who finds out that I'm British, almost every single time it's this. It's like, oh, nice to meet you. Oh, yeah, my name's such and such. My name's such and such. Oh, so what team do you support?
Who do you support? Yeah, I get that all the time.
Every time. And I'm like, I don't.
Same.
I don't care about football at all. I never watch it. I don't care. Like every single fucking time.
Yeah, it's exactly the same for me. I always give the same answer as you. Yeah, couldn't give two shits.
Yeah, couldn't care less. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, I will catch you on the next one, mate.
We will indeed. Yeah. Free Samurai.
Hashtag Free Samurai. Go and buy your merch.
Oh,
go and
glad you brought that up.
support them. Yeah, it's back online. Everything from the first lot should now be shipped. I was just messaging back and forth with someone last night. I think the last bits are being shipped this morning, but we pretty much sold out without even telling anyone. It was just like someone in TSB mentioned that it might be back, and then people just kept checking the website. So we pretty much sold out. A load more is being printed at the moment, but a fair few $100, maybe even $1,000 already has been sent to Free Samurai. So thank you very much to everyone.
Love to hear it. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right. Catch you on the next one, mate.
See you, mate.